On a bitterly cold night in January 1943, an 86-year-old man lay dying, alone, in room 3327 of the New Yorker hotel. He was surrounded not by family, wealth, or the global elite who once begged for his presence, but by a flock of alley pigeons he considered his only true friends. He was profoundly bankrupt, surviving on a meager diet of warm milk and crackers, deeply dismissed by the modern world as an eccentric madman. Yet every time you flip a light switch, charge your smartphone, or look toward a future driven by wireless automation, you are living inside this man's mind. His name was Nikola Tesla, a visionary who literally invented the 20th century, only for his ideas to be stolen, his name erased, and his body buried in a pauper's reality. The world worshipped his brilliance but left him to starve, proving that sometimes the ultimate price of seeing the future is being utterly destroyed by the present. To understand how a man who held over 300 patents could die without a single penny to his name, we have to look at the wiring of his mind. Born during a fierce lightning storm in modern-day Croatia, Tesla possessed what psychologists call a hyperphotographic memory. He did not design machines on paper, he built them, tested them, and ran them for weeks entirely inside his own head before ever touching a piece of metal. When he arrived in New York in 1884 with nothing but 4 cents in his pocket and a letter of recommendation to Thomas Edison, he believed America was a meritocracy of innovation. He quickly realized it was actually a gladiatorial arena of ruthless capitalism. Edison hired the brilliant young immigrant, promising him a massive $50,000 bonus, millions in today's money, if he could redesign Edison's inefficient direct current dynamos. Tesla worked 18 hours a day for nearly a year, completely re-engineering the system and saving Edison a fortune. When Tesla proudly asked for his promised reward, Edison famously laughed it off, telling him that he simply did not understand American humor. Deeply insulted and broke, Tesla walked out on Edison, entering a brutal period of his life where he was forced to dig ditches for $2 a day just to survive the harsh New York winter. It was the ultimate humiliation for a man of his intellect, but it also fueled a burning desire to prove his vision of alternating current, or AC, was vastly superior to Edison's direct current system. Edison's technology was severely limited, requiring a massive power plant every single mile and creating a dangerous jungle of overhead wires in major cities. Tesla's AC system used high-voltage transformers to transmit electricity over hundreds of miles seamlessly. When industrialist George Westinghouse recognized Tesla's genius and bought his AC patents, it triggered the infamous War of the Currents. Edison, terrified of losing his monopoly, launched a horrific smear campaign, publicly electrocuting stray dogs, circus elephants, and even funding the creation of the electric chair using Tesla's system to convince the public that alternating current was inherently lethal. Despite Edison's multi-million-dollar scare tactics, Tesla and Westinghouse triumphed by securing the contract to illuminate the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. When Tesla threw the master switch, transforming a pitch-black night into a dazzling, futuristic city of light, the world gasped in collective awe. Shortly after, they harnessed the raw power of Niagara Falls, building the world's first large-scale hydroelectric power plant and proving once and for all that Tesla's system could power entire nations. At this moment, Tesla was on track to become the world's very first billionaire. His contract with Westinghouse guaranteed him an astronomical royalty payment of $2.50 for every single horsepower of AC electricity sold globally. As the entire planet rushed to adopt his system, those royalties would have generated a fortune that would make modern billionaires look modest. But then, corporate greed intervened. Westinghouse's company fell into severe financial trouble as rival financiers, led by the legendary tycoon J.P. Morgan, attempted to consolidate the entire energy market. Westinghouse begged Tesla for a lifeline, explaining that his investors were forcing him out and the company would collapse if they had to pay his royalties. In an act of unparalleled tragic generosity, Tesla tore up his own royalty contract. He chose to save his friend's company, and preserve his dream of electrifying the world rather than securing his own immense personal wealth. With a single stroke of a pen, Tesla walked away from the greatest financial fortune in human history, blindly believing that his future inventions would always bring him the capital he needed to keep creating. With his royalty wealth completely surrendered, Tesla threw himself into his most ambitious and perilous obsession yet: wireless global energy. Operating out of his laboratory in New York, he discovered that the Earth itself could act as a massive electrical conductor. He envisioned a world where anyone on the planet could stick a simple antenna into the ground and pull down completely free, limitless electricity and information. To fund this monumental dream, he partnered with J.P. Morgan, constructing a massive, mysterious structure on Long Island known as Wardenclyffe Tower. Tesla told Morgan the tower was meant for wireless transatlantic communication, but his secret, ultimate goal was the global transmission of free power. As the construction of Wardenclyffe pressed on, Tesla's brilliant mind began to work against him, slipping into severe manifestations of obsessive-compulsive disorder. He became deeply obsessed with the number 3, refusing to stay in any hotel room whose number was not divisible by 3, and requiring exactly 18 napkins to wipe his dinner plates before eating. He developed a profound phobia of germs and round objects, particularly pearls worn by women, and would completely freeze in distress if forced to touch human hair. While Tesla fought these exhausting internal battles, his financial foundation began to crumble. His brilliant Italian rival, Guglielmo Marconi, successfully transmitted a radio signal across the Atlantic Ocean using 17 of Tesla's own patented designs. Because Marconi's project was significantly cheaper and focused purely on communication rather than free energy, the financial markets shifted. When J.P. Morgan finally discovered that Tesla's true objective was to provide free, unmetered electricity to the entire world, the ruthless tycoon immediately pulled all funding. Morgan famously asked how he could possibly put a meter on energy that flowed freely through the air. If he couldn't monetize it, he wanted it destroyed. Morgan then used his massive influence to ensure no other Wall Street investor would ever give Tesla another dime. Ruined and unable to pay his mounting debts, Tesla watched in absolute heartbreak as Wardenclyffe Tower was sold for scrap metal to cover his back taxes. The dream of a completely wireless, free energy utopia died right there in the dirt of Long Island, and Tesla's public reputation never truly recovered. The final decades of Tesla's life were a slow, painful descent into complete obscurity and severe isolation. The mainstream scientific community began to distance themselves from him, labeling him a classic mad scientist, as he held annual birthday press conferences claiming he had designed a death ray capable of vaporizing 10,000 enemy airplanes instantly. He claimed to have intercepted radio signals from Mars and spoke openly about a pocket-sized device that could instantly split the Earth in half using resonance waves. The media treated him as an amusing science fiction caricature rather than the living legend who gave them the very grid powering their printing presses. Too poor to afford proper housing, Tesla moved from one high-end New York hotel to another, leaving in the middle of the night whenever his unpaid bills accumulated to a breaking point. In his desperate loneliness, he turned his affection toward the city's pigeons. He would spend hours walking through Central Park, feeding them and bringing injured birds back to his hotel room to nurse them back to health. He famously wrote about a specific white pigeon, stating that he loved her as a man loves a woman, and that as long as she lived, his life had a clear and profound purpose. When that pigeon died in his arms, Tesla claimed that a light went out in his eyes, and he knew his life's work was finally over. When Nikola Tesla drew his final breath in that quiet hotel room in 1943, the United States government did something extraordinary for a man they had completely ignored for decades. Within hours of his death, the FBI and the Office of Alien Property Custodian swooped in and seized all of his trunks, notes, and research papers, fearing that his legendary death ray designs might fall into enemy hands during the height of World War II. His brilliant mind was weaponized and classified by the state, even though they wouldn't grant him a pension to buy bread while he was alive. Tesla was a man who genuinely lived for the advancement of humanity, completely unconcerned with the accumulation of material wealth. He gave us the modern world, Yet the modern world let him fade away into the shadows of poverty. Nikola Tesla's true legacy is not just the alternating current, the radio, or remote control. It is the haunting reminder that the greatest minds often give everything to the world, leaving absolutely nothing for themselves.